For Truman, this ever-so-sweet visit to Victory Lane marked the end of that climb. He died 11 days after the race. Horn was left with a new challenge, to win the season's championship without the leadership of the team's founder. Truesports racing had its ups and downs after the death of team leader Jim Truman. On the Milwaukee Mile, Bobby Rahal scored championship points. On the road course in Portland, Oregon, he suffered terminal mechanical problems. At New Jersey's Meadowlands, he added to his championship tally. At Cleveland, Ohio, Bobby fell victim to a rare blown engine. Life for this crew had become an emotional roller coaster. Steve Horn kept the team together. He was now team manager. Jim Truman's widow gambled that the new role might bring this racing recluse out of his shell.
For a person who didn't want to be interrupted by the press before and didn't want to have to think about the financial matters, only about winning and having the car well prepared, I think he's done a wonderful about-face.
Well, Steve was very, I don't know if private is the word or reserved is the word. There was at one time where he really didn't care about the marketing side, or at least he may have cared about it, but it was his feeling that, well, you know, there's other people to do that sort of thing, whether it was me or Jim or whoever. And I think there's been about a 180-degree turn in that.
Horn says there's a simple explanation for his apparently introverted personality.
People come up to me and say, "Hey, I said hello to you at the races. Why did you ignore me?" I don't ignore people. I just am concentrating so hard on the job at hand that I perhaps have this image of being a bit hard and hard to get along with, but I'm not. It's an intense environment. I think I'm an intense person. When people say to me, "Why don't you smile?" I say, I am. I'm smiling inwardly. You know, I'm getting satisfaction inside myself. The fact that I don't express it publicly sometimes, that's just my nature, but I think I'm a pretty happy person.
Horn's inner peace stems at least in part from a long-term relationship with his wife, Christine. Racing is notoriously hard on marriages, but these two met and married during the lean years in New Zealand. They were more than husband and wife. They are colleagues. Christine is Truesports' office manager and the team's chief timer at the track.
Christine, we've been married, I don't know, 10 years, I guess, and without her, I would not have got where I am today. There's no two ways about it. When times were tough for us, you know, coming to America and getting with a new team in a new environment was tough, and Christine helped me when times were down, keeping me going.
I think the tough times were easier because we were together and we helped each other through our tough times, but it hasn't been easy coming to a foreign country and not knowing anyone when we first came over here. And then again, when we went from Can-Am to kart racing, that was a very difficult transaction for us, but we learned by our mistakes.
Horn's first mistake was trying to do too much. In 1982, the team's first season, Rahal was Rookie of the Year, and Steve was Outstanding Chief Mechanic. They immediately overexpanded.
And one of the first things we did was overcommit ourselves. We started running in 1983. We won the Super V Championship with Ed Pym. And I can remember the shop we were in previous. We had 2 Indy cars and we had 4 Super Vs and we had 7 mechanics. So it was a little bit tough.
Its dues paid, the '86 Truesports team stands at the edge of greatness. They have put the Portland and Cleveland setbacks behind them. The IndyCar gentry is about to witness one of the most impressive charges in the history of the sport. After his blown engine at Cleveland in 1986, Bobby Rahal ranked 6th in IndyCar standings. The year was half over. The dream of a championship in Jim Truman's memory was fading. But the team responded with an incredible charge. In the next 6 races, Rahal won 4.
Bobby Rahal will score his 2nd straight victory on his home track in Lexington, Ohio in the Escort Radar Warning 200. Rahal took the lead from Danny Sullivan on the 75th of 84 laps, and a big accident involving Jose Legarza means this one will finish under caution, but Rahal moves into 5th place in the points behind Mario Andretti. And after a slow start in the CART PPG IndyCar season, Bobby Rahal is mounting a charge. He will win the Molson Indy Montreal here at Quebec. Steve Horn and the crew are happy folks because they know that Bobby has taken a share of the points lead with Al Unser Jr. And Bobby Rahal will post a dominating victory in the Pepsi-Cola 250 here at Michigan. His 3rd straight victory opens his points lead over Al Unser Jr., and he becomes the first IndyCar driver to win over $1 million in a season. It's Rahal first, Sullivan second, and Michael Andretti third, and that means Rahal and Andretti will have a showdown for the championship in the final race of the season in Miami, Florida.
It was an impressive run of success for a team that refuses to rely on traditional gasoline alley expertise. Steve Horn knew nothing about IndyCar racing when Jim Truman hired him. As team manager, Horn had carried that unusual approach a step further.
I think the unique thing about this team is many of our people never worked on race cars. Instead of hiring some guy who's been in IndyCar racing for 9 years, I think Steve always felt it was better to take a guy who obviously had some intelligence and some mechanical knowledge and train him, you know, right, so you don't get people with preconceived notions of how you go about doing something.
I try not to employ people from other teams simply because I don't want this organization to be perceived of hand-picking from other teams. Also, we like to train people from the bottom up and bring them through the organization.
During that pressure-packed '86 season, Horn's philosophy passed a stern test. Adrian Newey, a big star among IndyCar engineers and the only member of the Truesports Brain Trust with extensive IndyCar background, had gone to another team. Railbirds had predicted an abrupt end to the Truesports success story, but this win at California's Laguna Seca Raceway was Bobby's 6th of the season. He became the first IndyCar driver ever to win 3 straight races at a single track. Rahal gave voice to the new Truesports battle cry, "Who's Adrian Newey?"
When Adrian left us, everybody said, well, what's going to happen, guys? You know, you've lost your engineer. But we had Grant Newbury with us, who had come straight from General Motors. He'd learned the hard way practically at the racetrack with Adrian and with the team, and he's gone on, I think, to become one of our unsung heroes. He's a major factor in the performance of the car at the racetrack.
Newberry, whose job at GM had nothing to do with racing, joined this team as a parts cleaner. For his crew chief, Horn trained Jim Prescott, a bricklayer.
Jimmy's been with us since 1982, and really he's the driving force, I think, behind the preparation of these cars. Like myself, he was never trained as a mechanic. He was a bricklayer by trade, but Jimmy has remarkable mechanical aptitude. He can pick up anything he wants to by simply observing somebody else doing it.
With their former sedan designer at the drawing board, with the bricklayer deployed in the crew chief's role, the team had run up an incredible streak. Since the Portland and Cleveland failures, Rahal had won 5 times, and the car had finished 9 straight races. This was the team Jim Truman envisioned, a team devoted to meticulous preparation.
I think the big thing is we get a car and we don't assume that it's right. You know, we're willing to experiment. The marches were losing wheel nuts, and of course we didn't, but we made our own. And, you know, because they looked at the wheel nut and said, no, there's something, this isn't right.
By the final race of the '86 season, this unlikely assemblage of personalities and their do-it-our-own-way attitude had earned a shot at the championship. Second-generation star Michael Andretti, son of the legendary Mario, was their rival. He had enough points going into the season's finale to be a threat. He could steal the crown that Rahal and his mates wanted so much for Jim Truman. But midway through the race, Andretti's transmission failed. Rahal cruised to the title, capping one of the most successful seasons in IndyCar history. Rahal finished the year with 6 wins, tying the single-season record. The team took the Dana Pit Crew Award hands down, and together they became the first team ever to win $1 million in a single season. Ray Hall and Horn won the '86 Indy 500 for a dying Jim Truman, then claimed the series championship in his memory. The next challenge would be to win in Jim's absence, to defend that championship for themselves. For the Truesports team, no IndyCar race is more important than the one on their home track. In 1982, when Jim Truman formed the team, he also bought Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. He transformed it into a motorsports showcase and made it the home base for his team. As the 1987 CART PPG Series invaded Mid-Ohio, Ray Hall was again locked in a championship duel with Michael Andretti. Bobby held a 14-point lead coming in. He'd won 2 straight races here. Steve Horn's task was to keep the crew from getting overconfident.
My job's kind of like being a football coach. You've got to keep everybody up every weekend. You've got to provide them with the tools they need to do their job, good organization, good equipment, but get the best out of them, keep them pumped up all the time.
After practice, other teams work late. They are doubtless frustrated by another trademark of the championship Truesports team, an empty and locked garage.
We work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night. Obviously, when there's a bit of a problem or something like that, we go beyond. But if guys are working until 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night every day of the week, then I know I can't do that without affecting my performance. So why should I expect them to do that?
Horn's careful management and the team's impressive efficiency get Bobby Ray Hall to the starting line. And from there, he knows what to do. He quickly jumps into the lead, a strategy he knows by heart.
We've got to go out and be aggressive and yet not get into situations and lapping cars or passing people where there's a chance that I could get hit or, you tear a front wing off or what have you. It's a physically demanding race for the driver, but I think you've got to go into it thinking that it's a 50-lap sprint race and you just go. And it's not 50 laps, it's 90-some laps. But you just got to duck, put your head down and go after it. And what happens, happens.
10 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio, and local favorite Bobby Ray Hall has led the race since taking over from pole sitter Roberto Guerrero very early on. It has been an easy drive for Ray Hall throughout the day as he laps slower cars. Oh, he came together there with Rick Maskiewicz. Maskiewicz up into the dirt bank. Bobby Ray Hall, your leader, is still rolling on the racetrack. There you see Maskiewicz, but Ray Hall must have a problem. He pits the Budweiser Lola, and the crew, under the direction of Steve Horn, will get out there and see if they can salvage this race for Ray Hall. The front left tire comes off. Miraculously, I don't see any other damage on the race car. Bobby Ray Hall is back in the race, but he is out of the lead. And you can...
Michael's engine blew, handing Ray Hall a runner-up finish in the race and a virtual lock on the championship. The 1987 coronation came at Laguna Seca Raceway. Bobby qualified third. He ran there until the crew's quick pit work moved him into second. And when race leader Mario Andretti dropped out, Ray Hall cruised to his 4th straight Laguna Seca win. More important, the Truesports team had its 2nd straight title. Looking back, Steve Horn cited a loss, not a victory, as the turning point.
A key point in the season, I think really in my mind the Michigan 500, because we were leading the championship at that stage. Michael won the race and we had a couple of problems in the race that put us right back, literally the back of the field, but we came back and came up to 3rd place, and that was a bit of a key to us, I think, that we could keep on fighting.
Perhaps that is the final and most enduring legacy Jim Truman left to his team, that fighting spirit that it takes to be champion.
Jim was an extraordinary man, and I think the biggest thing I learned from him was to believe in yourself and your own ability, and not get caught up too much in negative thinking. Even when things go wrong, always try and find the positive side to it, make sure that the same problem didn't crop up again, and believe in the people that work for you. Jim took great delight, I think, in giving people opportunities and seeing them succeed. And I can understand his feelings now towards that as we've become successful. I watch some of the guys that work for us, come up through the ranks and start to realize some of their own ambitions.
he taught us so well that we were able to continue and succeed. And to me, that's, if you can have that kind of an effect on people, then I think your life's been pretty worthwhile.
Until the day he died, Jim Truman's competitive spirit never waned. His life was a continuing quest for excellence. His memorial is the success of the men he chose to walk in his footsteps. A 13-year relationship with Bobby Rahal culminated in Truman's finest racing hour, the Indy 500 victory. Bobby has gone on to become one of the most successful Indy car drivers ever.
In Rahal's shadow, you'll find Steve Horn, quietly and efficiently carrying on the work the way Jim would have wanted it done. But this team's success story has outlived its founder. I think it's time Steve moved into the foreground, at least long enough to get the credit he deserves. For Hidden Heroes, I'm Dave Bowman.